Assalamu alaikum. 1 p.m. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Aisha Ghazi. First, the headlines. President is in Tajikistan to participate in international conference on environment being held in Dushanbe tomorrow. Today is the last day of scrutiny of nomination papers for the upcoming general elections. In occupied Kashmir, joint resistance leadership has called for complete shutdown tomorrow against continued killings in the valley. UNHCR says 68.5 million people have been forced to flee their homes due to war, violence and persecution, particularly in Myanmar and Syria. And now the news in detail. President Mamnoon Hussain is in Dushanbe on an official visit to Tajikistan. President Mamnoon Hussain and his Tajik counterpart Emomali Rahmon during their talks will discuss the whole range of bilateral ties with a view to further strengthen and diversify the relations in different fields for mutual benefit. The president will also lead Pakistani delegation at the high-level two-day conference on the International Decade for Action, Water for Sustainable Development, beginning in Dushanbe on Wednesday. The conference, being hosted by Tajikistan in cooperation with the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs and other partners, will focus on sustainable development and integrated management of water resources for the achievement of social, economic and environmental objectives. Today is the last day for scrutiny of nomination papers filed by candidates for upcoming general elections. According to Election Commission, a total of 21,482 nomination papers have been filed across the country for national and provincial assemblies. 6,063 candidates are contesting for 342 seats of the National Assembly, while 15,419 nomination papers have been filed for the provincial assemblies seats. As per the election schedule, appeals against rejection or acceptance of nomination papers can be filed by Friday. The appellate tribunals will decide the appeals by 27th of this month, after which the revised list of candidates will be published on the next day. The newly appointed IG Sindh, Amjad Javed Salimi, has said that maintenance of law and order across the province is his top priority and steps are being taken in this regard. The IG Sindh said the police will ensure holding of general elections in peaceful manner. The political parties should refrain from wall chalking. Accountability Court Islamabad is hearing Avonfield reference against former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and his family today. Judge Muhammad Bashir is hearing the case. Meanwhile, Khwaja Haris has rejoined the legal team to represent former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in NAB references. Supreme Court has ordered Sindh government to pay compensation to the heirs of lawyers who has fallen victim of target killing. Three-member bench of Supreme Court headed by Chief Justice of Pakistan, Justice Mia Saqib Nisar, was hearing a case related to compensation to heirs of lawyers who has fallen victim of target killing at its Karachi registry today. In occupied Kashmir, the joint resistance leadership has called for a complete shutdown tomorrow against the continued killings in the valley. The leadership, in a joint statement issued in Srinagar, said that the territory has witnessed a sudden spike since the Eid day, as 3 young boys were brutally martyred by the Indian forces while an injured is struggling for life at a hospital in Srinagar. The statement said that siege and search operations had made the lives of people miserable all across the occupied territory. The strike will also be observed against the brutal killing of senior journalist Shujat Bukhari. The JRL has demanded an international probe into his gruesome murder. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees says a record 68.5 million people have been forced to flee their homes due to war, violence and persecution, particularly in Myanmar and Syria. Talking to reporters in Geneva ahead of the report's launch, UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi said forced displacement globally requires a new and far more comprehensive approach so that the countries and communities aren't left dealing with this issue alone. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un arrived in Beijing today. He will brief Chinese President Xi Jinping on his summit with US President Donald Trump last week. This is Kim's third trip to China this year. In the FIFA World Cup 2018, 3 matches are being played today in Russia. That is the end of the news. For more news and analysis, log in onto our website radio.gov.pk. And also watch live video streaming for our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.